Between these hills of desert lies a racing lane. Saudi youth meet here. Well, only men to be more precise. Drifting or skidding is the national sport here. Why do you like drifting?
It's my passion.
The principle is simple. They perform stunts until the tires explode.
This is the fun of drifting, right here. That's how you have fun. No cones, just freestyle and just drift. No? Too scared?
Across the globe, mechanics remain a man's world. But even more so in Saudi Arabia, where it's not only a tradition, but a law.
It's forbidden by the law for ladies to drive for the time being. But I don't know what's hidden in the future, but for the time being, they can't drive, ladies.
Okay. And what do you think about it?
I think your question is, how do I think about not allowing ladies to drive?
The simple fact of talking about women is sensitive, and criticizing the government's politics can get you behind bars. The Women to Drive campaign started on the net a few years ago. Its members would film themselves driving and post a video. Many of them were arrested. 25-year-old Lou Jane is the latest. She spent 2 months in jail. Saudi Arabia is the only country in the world where women are not allowed to drive. Their only solution is to rely on male drivers. A ban that has become the symbol of discrimination against women. Yet some fundamentalists still defend it at any cost, like in this infamous video.
لو أرادت المرأة أن تسافر من مدينة إلى مدينة وتعطلت فيها، ماذا سيكون مصيرها؟
مو في أمريكا بيسافروا، في أوروبا والعرب بيسافروا يعني.
يغتصبن على الطريق، ما عندهم مشكلة. هنا مشكلة عندنا حنا في
مين
حالة.
قال لك أنت خايف من عسكر حاول يغتصبوا امرأة؟ ما أنت خايف من سائق يحاول يغتصب؟
البلم بسائقات أجنبيات مع زوجاتنا. ما المانع؟ ما المانع في هذا؟
The TV anchor can't help but laugh. Nadine Bdair is a Saudi journalist. Her show is a blockbuster in her country, but it's recorded abroad in the UAE, where she can dress and speak freely.
أنا كثير تعرضت للنقد بسبب طريقتي في اللبس في البرنامج، وتعرضت للنقد لأني ألبس ملابس المفروض أنها رسمية وتلبس كل قنوات العالم، لكن اعتبروا أنه أنا خرجت عن التقاليد وكنت أول سيدة سعودية تطلع لابسة. إذا الله كان يبغاني ألبس العباية كان خلقني بعباية. Why did he give me hair if he wants me to cover my hair?
Although she is often threatened, this feminist has learned how to use transgression to spread her message. Her first feat was to publicly demand the right to have 4 husbands, to denounce polygamy and the lack of gender equality.
والصدمات اللي ممكن أحققها عن طريق الكتابة مقالات أو حلقات تصادمية تذهل البعض لأنه أو تدهشهم لأنه فيها مواضيع جدا جريئة. هذا الأسلوب اللي أنا من وجهة نظري ممكن يحقق تغيير على المدى القريب أو البعيد، وأزعم أنه حقق تغيير.
A feminist fight in which more and more men are taking her side.
Do you think that she's a symbol of Saudi women standing up for their rights?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, and I love that. And you know what? I believe that the change has to be majorly based on women. You know?
This is the very wind of change we went looking for. We've discovered a kingdom filled with contradictions, more diverse than we thought. Where conservative Saudis, men and women alike, pit against the youth's demands for new liberties. A country where women demand the right to drive, to vote and to work out. Look at this seaside scene. It's a perfect reflection of this complex society. Under the eye of the powerful moral police, women can bathe fully dressed. But they cannot drive a jet ski. At first glance, everything seems forbidden here. But could Saudi Arabia be opening up?
Ladies and gentlemen, the text you are about to hear is a supplication which Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, used to pray upon traveling.
Allahu Akbar.
Our journey starts with a verse from the Quran.
اللهم إنا نسألك في سفرنا هذا البر والتقوى ومن الدين.
Many of the passengers are pilgrims on their way to Mecca. In the cradle of Islam, Sharia law is strictly applied. As a woman, I have to wear the veil and the abaya, a black cloth that covers me from top to toe. Journalists are not usually welcome to Saudi Arabia. It took us months to get our visas. And reporting here will prove harder than we expected.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Jeddah International Airport.
The inscription on the Saudi national flag reads, "There's no God but Allah, and his prophet is Muhammad." The portrait of King Salman peers down at us from everywhere. In this absolute monarchy, filming is restricted. A local translator accompanies us and reports our activities to the authorities. She asks to remain anonymous. We're requested to meet Saudi women. Our guide takes us to this fancy neighborhood in Jeddah, the country's economic capital. It's the first time this family has agreed to open its door to foreign journalists. Once a month, Abir Farhel invites her friends. It's easy to tell we're among the high class, striking luxury and foreign maids. Men are never allowed at these meetings. It's the Saudi rule. And not only do these women strictly follow it, they also support it.
هذه نعمة إنه إحنا بهذا الشكل. والله إنه عندنا الطراب. ثاني شيء بقول حاجة مهمة جدا. ترى اللي شفتوهم أنتوا في الإعلام وهذه أقلية الأقلية. يعني صح طلع صوت شيء غريب يعني لو حسبنا 30 مليون يجوا 5 ولا 10.
Usually, there are more guests around this table. But most of them shun our camera and hid in another room. Their husbands haven't allowed them to answer our questions. Instead, they tell us to film the employees and this empty table. Men hold all the power in this country. Each woman needs to have a legal guardian. It can be her husband, her father, a brother, or even a son as soon as he reaches the age of 12.
والست عندنا ما يعني لما ما بتتعرض لما بتخرجي برا في أي دولة تانية بتتعرض للأشياء. إحنا الحمد لله في عندنا اللي يروح يجيب لنا الخضار، في عندنا اللي يجيب لنا كذا، مدللين منعمين الحمد لله. يعني هذه نعمة من الله. مين دحين واحدة
ونشوف نظرة ولاة الأمر عندنا، نحس إن ولاة الأمر عندنا نعمة كبيرة ربنا أعطانا هي، لأنهم بينظروا للأمور من فوق، وإحنا عايشين يعني ولاة الأمر كأنهم أبهاتنا. عندها أي سؤال تاني؟
يلا.
We actually do have more questions, but not the freedom to ask them.
Thank you.
I'm okay with what I say.
We have no choice but to show the sound bites to Abir's husband.
Thank you, sir.
I meet with her guardian at the other end of the house. Fawaz will have the final say on the video.
I will show you what we filmed the other evening with your wife and your daughter.
Like most Saudi nowadays, this entrepreneur has only one spouse. As a guardian, Fawaz decides whether his wife and daughter can work, study, or travel abroad.
It's a relaxing picture you take.
With the cat?
Yeah.
بس احتاجك توقع على هذه.
Okay. يلا.
طيب الحجز الرجال.
The head of the family also decides if they can open a bank account. He actually has the right to pry in any aspect of their life. No other country imposes such a law.
يحسن. لكن أنا إذا أتخذ قراري أيضا دائما يبنى على الواقع، يبنى على الأحداث، على ما حولنا، على يعني مثلا مثال نقول مثال إذا رغبوا في السفر إلى خارج المملكة مثلا، أنا لا أسمح أنهم يسافروا مثلا بمفردهم. I don't like to be يعني the man who's يعني make the family afraid. I don't like this way either.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
He sees himself as very understanding. But with such a discriminating system, Saudi women become second-class citizens for life. This practice is rooted in a very strict interpretation of Islam. The almighty religious authorities refused our request for an interview. Our only chance to speak to them will be outside a mosque. After their prayer.
يعني لازم هو يسبونسر يعني لا مو ما بيصور.
This imam briefly shares his vision of women with us. We film him in secret.
Women stay home because the woman, it is very important to grow the family, to grow the whole country, because if the woman go anywhere as she like, it is maybe damage everything. يعني ممكن.
Fundamentalists say that honorable women should not meet men outside their family circle. The whole Saudi society is based on a strict division between sexes in the public space. How does it work? And what impact does it have? To answer these questions, we meet an Islamic activist who supports the government's policy.
Hello, Radha. Hi, how are you?
Thanks to Rauda Youssef, we're allowed to film inside this shopping mall. At first sight, it looks like any other shopping center in the world. But there's a complex system separating men and women. There are signs everywhere. And they are the ones telling you who can and who cannot enter.
If a man enters, what happens?
الأوائل فقط يعني إنه ما يجي يعني ما حد يجي من الزباين أو من المشترين إلا عائلة يعني رجل وزوجته أو امرأة. لكن السنجل الرجل ما يقدر يجي، لكن ممكن سيدة تدخل تشتري أو رجل وزوجته عائلة. لكن الرجال لوحده ما يقدر يشتري. حماية من التحرش اللفظي، من انه في بعضهم يجوا يعاكس يعني يعني للاسف في النوعيه هذه، في انه في بعض الرجال جادين يبغوا يشتغلوا، لكن هذا النظام.
According to the regime, this gender apartheid is the only way to protect women's honor. Two worlds apart, within the same country. Men are kept on one side, and women on the other. It's the case in banks, but also in restaurants. This fast food on the right is for men. On the left, a women-only cafe. And the same goes for work. Male managers cannot mix with female employees. Rauda explains.
في شركات عديدة يعني زي شركة الحكير، شركة الشاي، أغلب الوظائف النسائية بتكون للمستلزمات النسائية، للمكياج، الكوزماتكس، للملابس السهرة، أي شيء يتعلق بالمرأة يحق للمرأة إنها تشتغل فيه كبائعة أو كاشير أو حتى مديرة.
Rauda is proud to show us these female cashiers. It's a new phenomenon in the kingdom, authorized barely 3 years ago. Before, no women were allowed to work in shops. Sofana was hired last year.
كمان عشان فضاء في البيت وخلصت البكالوريوس شيء زي كذا.
اوكي.
موافقة أحد؟ ايوه اكيد موافقة الوالد شيء زي كذا. لا عادي أنا مساعد المبيعات مو شرط كاشير.
أول شيء المرأة تشتغل أول حاجة الحاجة المادية، الحاجة النفسية والمعنوية. مو شرط إنه المرأة تعمل عشان تعمل. يس المسؤول أنت بعد.
Rauda and the security services are growing wary of our questions on gender segregation.
خلاص إحنا عندنا تصوير بس خارجي نص. Should take care for the woman because we cannot take any picture for the woman without ask her.
They check our papers. We're clear, but Rauda calls the Ministry of Information and they summon her to stop the interview. Why are the authorities preventing us from talking to women? Why is segregation such a sensitive issue? This entrenched phobia of mingling has had significant consequences in the kingdom. Official figures are hard to find, but the media sometimes leaks a case, like the student who died of a heart attack last year. Allegedly, the paramedics had not been allowed on the female-only campus. We're requested to go to a hospital, in its ER or maternity ward. One of the country's oldest clinics agreed to let us film, but only their eye clinic. Their decision made sense. In Dr. Saleh's department, no need to take off the veil, nor to have much physical contact.
Can we have the door closed?
To work here, the Egyptian doctor and all the foreign nurses have to abide by the strict segregation rules. This young lady has issues with her contacts. But no matter how benign the consultation, she still had to bring her brother along. In the kingdom, male guardians need to approve some treatments.
I cannot examine any ladies except in presence of relatives or my nurse. Here they have some social regulations, some deep beliefs of dealing between male or female, whatever, doctors or others.
برضه ما في مشكلة. ما في مشكلة، ما عندك تفضيل بس انك تفضل الدكتور لاني اقدر اخذ الكلام معه.
The doctor says he's never faced a case where a woman has been denied treatment.
Can it happen that if there is only male doctors and the female arrives with emergency, that no one can treat her because there is no female doctor?
No. I'm not facing that situation at all. يعني no. لا. يعني for the emergency patient coming to be seen by doctor. As a general, whatever, male, female, who is now can treating him, he will be appreciating and he'll be happy. يعني.
It's impossible for us to confirm his statements. It's hard to go beyond the official version in this country. Hospitals, malls, our whole shooting is strictly controlled. Outside the clinic, we randomly approach a group of young Saudis.
Where do you meet? What do you usually do?
To curb temptation, men and women have to be apart. These boys cannot mingle with girls their age.
Would you like to be more mixed or you don't care?
No, it's okay.
No, I don't care. Yeah, I don't care. Because my religion says that.
I'm engaged, so I don't care.
And do you know her?
Yeah, she's my cousin.
Okay.
Of course I know. She's my fiancée.
نوعا ما مرتبط يعني ايوه نفس الشيء يعني. ايوه كلمت الاهل انه I need that girl يعني فالحمد لله يعني.
Marrying within the family is common in the Middle East. But do all youngsters simply follow the traditions? Can the youth meet in spite of the strict religious rules and customs? We leave our translator behind. An expert has agreed to show us the hidden side of the kingdom. We'll call him Salim. He knows a specific neighborhood where young people come and flirt.
Là-bas, tu vois, il y en a 4 qui sont près de la voiture, ils attendent que ça bouge. Ils sont en train de pêcher.
Bachelors are not allowed to talk to each other and have instead developed new communication techniques, all very secret and handled from their cars.
C'est ceux qui veulent, ils vont draguer. Et ils n'ont pas trop le choix. Ils n'ont pas d'endroit où discuter en tant que célibataire. Là, en général, ils essaient d'avoir le numéro de téléphone. Par Bluetooth, ils repèrent le numéro. Il doit être assez proche pour avoir les connexions Bluetooth, donc tu repères, tu dis ça doit être elle, à l'aveugle, et puis parfois ça répond. Même moi, parfois, je reçois des messages sur mon téléphone, je dis c'est qui ça?
In the kingdom, there are no cinemas, no bars, no nightclubs. They are all forbidden. Music is discouraged as well. Scholars say it distracts from God. Alcohol is also banned. But it's impossible to keep the youth from having some fun. Salim takes us to a mixed-gendered place, an underground concert. For safety reasons, the date changed 3 times and the location was kept secret until the last minute.
C'est avec l'aval des autorités.
Non. C'est-à-dire, c'est toléré, mais ce n'est pas accepté.
So the regime sometimes turns a blind eye as long as it stays private. The organizers know the rules. We film the party with a hidden camera. You have to be on the list to get in. And one of the youngsters gathers the phones. No pictures can leak on social media. Next to him, a coat hanger for abayas. In this private home, no need to cover up. And skimpy outfits take over. Inside, expats mix with young and cool Saudis. Some couples are even dancing. Nothing too shocking so far, but if the religious police showed up, all 200 guests would end up behind bars. In order to live on, these small bubbles of freedom must be kept secret. The next day, we negotiate extensively with the authorities to show you another one, a unique sports field in the kingdom. Welcome to Jeddah United, the country's first female private sports club. Lina, the founder, has traded her veil for a cap. It's much more than just a symbol for this pioneer, who intends to prove that female sports and Islam are compatible. For the past 10 years, this mother of two little girls has been fighting to share her passion for basketball.
No beach. ليه دالي مبسوطة؟ انتوا كمان؟ الفرقة المباراة للصف. إن شاء الله.
Go fast, fast, fast! In the past, men were the only ones allowed on the field. For fundamentalists, women playing sports are sinful.
I got lucky. Two of them got it. People were like, aren't you afraid? Aren't you afraid? I'm like, what am I afraid of? Why would I be afraid? I mean, the government, yes, a lot of people might look at us and say, oh, the government didn't support you, but at the same time, the government didn't stop us.
Thanks to Lina's determination, 300 young girls and boys are now training here every week, under their nannies and mothers' close watch.
Really smart. Like, I think all the moms are grateful that she did such that. She combined everything. Like now, I have a sister and a brother. I can get them to one place. I don't have to, think of the different places, drivers, everything. And they're all one community and one environment, so it's comfortable.
Yet, to convince the parents and silence the clerics, Lina had to impose strict regulations. Respecting the 5 daily prayers and gender segregation for children over 12. Teenage girls can only train behind high walls, and they have to wear the veil and long sleeves.
It's okay, Habibi, no problem. It's basketball.
Lina also complies with the rules. Her dream is to lead this young generation all the way to the Olympic Games.
It's really nice to see them and think that this hopefully might be the foundation of a national team.
It's the board. What is this? It's really nice. And
This is what we should be wearing.
yeah, this is like what you actually
بدل
wear when
هادي.
you're playing. Saudi national team. Because it's like, yeah, tight.
We don't have
It
it.
would match
When we go to the Olympics, حنلبس هذا.
Yeah.
We're the future Saudi.
The team is working on specially designed hoods to replace their slippery veils when playing abroad.
I know in my lifetime I will see Saudi Arabia playing basketball in the Olympics.
But there's still a long way to go.
There you go.
Only 2 female athletes have made it to the Olympic Games up until today. In 2012, at the London Games, the Olympic Committee required female competitors to be present to allow for the Saudi male team to compete.
Of course, there are still people who are still resisting female sports for whatever reasons, which I believe has nothing to do with any religious identity, or else we wouldn't have 1.6 billion Muslims around the world participating in all these countries in basically the Olympics, and their women participating in international tournaments.
But hardline mentalities thrive in a country where rules are rooted in divine command.
Oh, yes, you can. Let's go.
We drive 1,000 kilometers to Riyadh, the capital. The country is the largest oil producer in the world, and gas is cheaper than water here. Filling up a 40-litre tank costs about $5. A godsend that has turned Riyadh into an ultra-modern city in the span of decades. Today, the kingdom is massively investing in education, and the figures are here to prove it. 97% of girls access primary education. 40% are in high school. We're invited to the country's first design university.
Welcome to Brussels. Thank you for receiving us.
Hi. Welcome to Saudi.
Thank you very much.
You can remove your veil.
Yes, here it's allowed.
Yeah, it's a females institute, so you're allowed to remove your veil. Let me take you a tour.
Hala Halwani is the director of the school. Like anywhere else in the country, boys and girls do not mix, from preschool to PhD level. The college opened last year and welcomes 20 girls who've paid almost $15,000 to study here. This morning their schedule covers math, sewing and drawing.
I look bad today.
Maha is 22, sports a half-shaved hairstyle and a piercing. She studies a master's degree in fashion design.
Why are you studying here?
You mean fashion design? That's a hard question. Basically, I like to do new stuff or invent my own style. So in fashion design, I like it.
Although many women graduate, the country still lags behind in terms of employment. Less than a fourth of the kingdom's women work. The figure might be on the rise, but it's still the lowest in the world.
There is a lot of work in the market for women, especially. I mean, it's booming, and they are looking, like the country is looking to hire a lot of women, and they're really excited. And they're encouraging women actually to get into various fields and to design and to get into different sectors.
Despite the school's optimistic views, the chances of its designs ever getting on the international market are scarce.
So, for example, you're doing fashion design.
This is CAT for fashion. This is the work of 3 of our very first students.
Not the image we have in the West.
Actually, you can see a lot of things covered under abaya. There's a lot of creativity in students and in Saudi ladies, and I can say that Saudi ladies are the strongest since they have a lot of boundaries, but even though they do a lot under these boundaries, and they're very strong.
In this conservative society, a revealing outfit often means dishonor. Freeing women from the obligation of wearing abayas could also help empowering them. A first-hand witness of the changes in public opinion is Yahya, the country's first fashion designer. Like every morning, he starts his day with a coffee by the pool. The man made his fortune back in the 90s.
When I started, it was something unknown. Nobody knows about fashion. Even people, they're surprised to when someone asks me about my job. I always say it by low voice. I couldn't say, by strong. Like I'm a fashion designer.
Yahya studied fashion in Italy and then opened his own shop here in Saudi Arabia. Surprisingly enough, he does not design abayas, but what hides underneath. Cocktail dresses. They are all unique and their prices range from $3,000 to $7,000.
We are providing here the haute couture, ready thing. This is Ghadi, she's working here in the reception and she's responsible of selling. We have another girl also, she work preparing the merchandise.
At first, the designer was arrested several times and his stocks destroyed. To the religious police, a man designing sexy dresses was inappropriate. But he never gave up, and with the support of his customers, he eventually established himself.
Because I have already in December, inshallah.
It's coming December, yeah. Depends where you love black or what you love. It's
I love
colorful.
yes, colorful.
Colors over there we have like gold.
Today, Yahya has made himself a name, and he even runs a catwalk every year in Paris. But in Jeddah, the designer has to respect Saudi rules. Over the years, he's even learned to guess his customers' sizes from under their abayas.
But it's too small for me.
I don't think so. They wear it in parties. I mean, when there is the evening wedding or evening party.
You design the dresses, but you never see your clients wearing
Mostly. I could say 95% I didn't see what I did. Only I heard from with people.
Yahya creates his dresses upstairs. In this goes the studio. At 53, the designer who was born in a small Saudi desert is happy to see his country changing and men losing their grip on women, no matter how slowly.
They were so tough. Now they can't control nothing. What we're gonna control? They have, everyone, she has a telephone or two telephones, and they have internet, all the media, Instagram, Facebook. She could, now any girl now, even in a small village, she could have boyfriend from Paris, and nobody will control her. You can't stand now in front of the technology, like someone who put stone in front of the tsunami. Impossible.
And new technologies are becoming a weapon of choice for the Saudi youth.
No woman, no drive. No woman, no drive.
The internet is flooded with satirical videos.
When you used to sit.
Their targets: discrimination against women, racism, or exploitation of foreign workers. Today, Saudis are the biggest consumers of online videos worldwide. Only a few years ago, satellite dishes were forbidden. We meet the famous young men who create these videos. Ibrahim, Abdullah, Khaled, like them, 70% of the population is below 30. Each video they make attracts hundreds of thousands of viewers.
Welcome to Saudi, man. No, man, it's been ever since USC. It's great here. I love it.
Youths were seeing a story of an American guy came to his friend and
he was influenced by Saudi.
The bad thing that happened, that three other friends, they didn't show him the nice thing. They showed him the bad things.
It's a way to mock the Saudi flirting style and how women are erased from the public sphere.
I miss and I'd really love to see is the females. I never saw that side of the culture, and I'd love to get to know.
الصراحة ودي يناسبنا. تخاصة وتعاقب يا كلب.
That we're still committed in our Islamic principles. We just want to change the extreme. We don't like the extreme. We don't want to be in the left or totally in the right. We need to be in the middle. Yeah.
With their Western style, we could almost forget that we're in Saudi Arabia. But these comedians don't. And they're careful not to cross the red line.
Trying to solve it.
This is a comedy rule. There is 3 taboos you don't talk about: that religion, sexual stuff, and the politics. You don't talk about it. Even the state, they don't talk about it. They talk, but in a very far way. They don't go deep on it.
Don't forget that we're very conservative. We are the most conservative people in the world. And you can't change the world this way. For us, be smart and don't crash with the community.
The Saudi regime allows for no direct criticism. And the ones who've tried to breach the rules are severely punished. To meet with these activists, we had to leave Saudi Arabia.
Mesdames, Messieurs, bonsoir. Bienvenue à bord de l'hôtel. Destination de Paris Nord. Jour de trajet, le territoire le plus simple.
This Saudi woman is crossing Europe to raise awareness about her husband's case. Raif Badawi was sentenced to 10 years of jail and 1,000 lashes for holding a blog.
رايف أنشأ الشبكة الليبرالية عشان يكون في منبر للحوار الحر بين العالم، يكون في سواء في معتقدات، في حرية التعبير، في عن حقوق الإنسان، عن حقوق المرأة. كل هذا كان ينحكى في الموقع اللي أنشأه رايف.
A bystander secretly filmed the first flogging session. Although the lashes seem mild, it's the very harshness of the sentence and the fact that it was carried out publicly that sparked international outrage. Saudi Arabia still beheads its convicts, like this woman, charged with murder, but claiming to be innocent. She's eventually executed with a sword in the middle of the street. Today's stop for Ansaf, Paris. We meet her on the Champs-Élysées, surrounded by Amnesty International volunteers. She promised her 3 children to bring back pictures to Quebec, where the family lives today.
Tu connais mes enfants? Oui, j'ai déjà vu les vidéos. Montre tes enfants. Regarde mes enfants. C'est la joie et Myriam. Elle ressemble à son papa. Oui. Il m'a dit, allez maman, nous cherchons papa, il vient au Canada, après il fait les plugs, il fait toutes les choses il veut.
The news of Raif's sentence has spread worldwide. Paris, Berlin, Oslo, Washington, thousands of people gather on a regular basis to call on the Saudi regime to show mercy. Since her husband was arrested, Ansaf has been knocking on many doors, governments, ministries, and even the European Commission. Tonight, dozens of people have gathered in Brussels to listen to her story.
طبعا الحياة كلها انتظار يوم ثقيل وأشهر ثقيلة وسنوات ثقيلة. 3 سنوات مرت علي أنا وأولادي من غير رايف على حرية.
All legal appeals have resulted in a dead end. Raif's lawyer is from Saudi Arabia too and was also sentenced to jail. Each lecture stirs outrage in an audience that cannot grasp the violence of the sentence for the simple act of blogging.
C'est un traitement particulièrement cruel. Enfin, fouetter, donner 1000 coups de fouet. Il n'y a personne qui résiste à ça, je veux dire. Même si c'est en petites tranches de, je crois que c'était 50 à chaque séance. C'est un truc, enfin, c'est dans le même ordre d'idée, même ligne que les décapitations au sabre. Je trouve que c'est éminemment choquant.
بشكركم على حضوركم وأنكم أعطيتوني من وقتكم. أكيد أتفاجأ بصراحة. أحيانا يكون كم كتير هائل، يعني مثلا 500 شخص أو 200 شخص أو 300 شخص، كتير يعني شيء يفلج الصدر.
In spite of all this advocacy, the Saudi regime has turned a deaf ear to international pleas. Ansaf's dream will still need time to become true. Back to Saudi Arabia. Here, very few activists dare to challenge the authorities. But tonight, we're meeting one of them. Hatun Al-Fasi is a historian and a feminist. She wrote a thesis on women's lives in the region before Islam.
So this is main book. This is in English. Put my photo here. Women in pre-Islamic Arabia.
The results of her findings come as a shock. They enjoyed more freedom back then. Thanks to her international renown, Al-Fasi can publicly criticize the use of Islam as a political tool.
Meeting. Women symbolize the nation. Women symbolize the honor. And in a way, we are trapped into this. There is this belief that the more they are restrict with women, the more they are showing their Islamism. And the more, again, they legitimize the state. Head of the group of...
Hatun refuses to be labeled a second-class citizen. Together with dozens of Saudi women, they demand the right to vote.
It's behind us.
Saudi Arabia remains the only country where women have never cast a ballot.
Okay. This is from some of the demonstrations. This is from Mecca. Here it says, it's my right to participate. We had a fatwa saying that it's forbidden. Forbidden by Allah. It's haram. It's not Islamic to go and demonstrate. And once you go and demonstrate, you are actually asking for chaos, and chaos is not allowed in Islam.
Under pressure, the government has allowed women to vote during local elections at the end of 2015. A symbolic victory only, these elected officials have little to no power. For many Saudi women, moving abroad is the only way to escape this authoritarian regime and live freely. This will be our last interview. Dubai, in the Emirates. Most of the Saudi diaspora lives in this small, yet liberal state. The difference between these two neighboring countries can be summed up in one single image. Raha Muharak, behind the wheel. This Saudi woman came to Dubai for her college studies and never moved back.
Love driving. When I was 18 and 1 second, I went and applied. So I had the file ready. It was the day I turned 18, I went with the file. Hello. I was just so excited. I couldn't wait to get my hands on my car.
Here in Dubai, Raha dresses as she pleases, lives alone, and works out a lot. Twice a week she comes to this gym, where men and women practice side by side.
Just grab this bag and do you want to test this, right? Huh?
There's a good reason behind her extensive workout sessions. She's a sports fanatic. Raha made headlines when she was 27 and became the first Arab woman to ever climb Mount Everest. Since then, she has become a role model for many women in the region. She travels the world to tell her story at various events and schools like today at this university in Dubai.
I miss it, but it also makes me wonder, what was I thinking? People always ask me, where did this all start? And the honest answer is it started with a two-letter word. It started with no. It was pointed out how illogical it was for me to climb, just for the sole ridiculous reason of me being born a Saudi woman. It enraged me that the color of my passport dictated my capabilities. I was meant to walk a path, actually. I was meant to.
Raha had to fight to convince her parents to let her practice, travel abroad, and sleep under a tent.
I racked my brain and I spent...
Such things are impossible for most young Saudi women, and here Many among the audience see themselves in Raha.
Crazy. I love you. Go for it.
For someone who comes from the same background, I believe she made me feel so much better about the situations that I'm put in and the challenges I have to face. I want to become a public speaker and I want to write poetry. So hearing her do things that actually sound impossible, I believe that maybe someday or even tomorrow, maybe I can do it. And that's the best gift I've ever gotten from anyone.
Be bold, be brave, because after all, ladies and gentlemen, history is never made by the faint-hearted. Thank you very much.
The road is paved with obstacles for these young pioneers. But in an increasingly globalized world, their voices will be heard. Women like Hatoun, the historian, Nadine, the TV anchor, or Lina, the basketball trainer, will have their say. Rebels who dream of convincing their people that women's rights and Islam can go together.